All right. Deiquisitor's Apotheosis is, gosh, what is this? Their third or fourth full length. And this is a Danish death metal band who are primarily influenced by the classics of the 90s, and not in a plain or a boring way, but in the sense that they grew up with that stuff. They eventually went into kind of more of a bestial black death metal side. They definitely have all been in some kind of black metal band with pretty severe themes and brutality at the hest. And you can see a lot of the work done for the Inquisitor's basic forms in previous bands like Soul Herv and Wolf's Lair. Just the name Wolf Slayer should kind of cue you into what the kind of black death metal they were doing at the time. And this is decidedly more in tune with, Morbid Angel, uh, immolation, incantation at a brutal pace. So the way I see it is that what the Inquisitor do was a lot more common in the late '90s, where there was the traditions of United States death metal were translating into 1,000 permutations, and brutality became the next step. And this band captures that feeling with almost a little bit of a death grind feeling. And, that's the way that I see it, but maybe a lot of people would see it as the past for these guys being set in what a lot of people consider war metal. So it's an interesting angle. Some of the more simple songs on here really do sound like early Ex Mortem to me, and maybe that's not the album that people would know them for, but it's a good reference for the raw, fairly simple, but still a little bit Morbid Angel-esque death metal that they're coming up with. Uh, I don't know that all of this is why this band is interesting. Really, what's interesting about this band is that they write these songs tempo map first. So the drumming is where they start, and the riffs follow in fitting thread. And all that means is that the relationship between the drumming and the guitars is always considered. It's always on, and it's always impressive. It's both a technical feat and like a percussive, impactful experience in every case. And they've really refined their style over the last several records, but also their render of it. And their tastes line up pretty well with what I like about death metal is a live in studio feeling. I want to feel like the band is actually performing and not, you know, a big fake fucking dumbass record. So what we get from this one is probably their best balance between big impressive spectacle and that live real performance. It doesn't feel like there's a click track. It doesn't feel like there's walls in between them when you listen to this record, and that counts. It just that matters to me. I think maybe it's a record nerd kind of thing, but uh, that organic, real feeling adds to the intensity and the weave of the music as everything plays off each other. And it's one of the things I'd liked about Here and After. It's one of my favorite death metal records, along with Path of the Weakening. And these were physical, impressive, and a little bit avant-garde acts that pushed death metal forward. And so I see some shades of those things here, even if maybe this work isn't revolutionary in the same way at this point in time. So, uh, yeah, I think this is just the kind of thing that I like to listen to for the sake of how impactful it is. And I do think that they run out of their best ideas before the last couple tracks kick in. And like one of the songs is a cover of a Wolf Slayer song, and if you go and listen to the original version of it, they haven't really changed it that much. They've just gotten better at everything they do. So that stuff sounds sloppy compared to this, and they're obviously at a really high point of, like I say earlier in the review, this is like the place where death metal matters and the magic happens is in the rehearsal room for these guys. This is where they they work on this, and this is like there's a lot of integrity in that for me. When I hear that, I hear the band that doesn't care about the gloss and the bullshit, but they're still willing to put like pretty good money into like production and all that. So anyway, Um, yeah, the brutality just kind of sells it for me on this one. I think they've done just a fantastic job with this one. But I've liked everything they put out. So def don't just check out this record. Go check out the previous two. I think Humanoid gives some good context as to what has directly changed, and the one before it shows different production styles that lent a different, maybe more polished sound to the the rhythm tracks and all that. So uh, more to read about that in the review. So go check that out and see if this is your kind of death metal.